I don't know if this happens to you, but when you're in a food court and you have to kind of keep that line moving, there's a lot of pressure. So like, you got to pick your order, you got to pick your two sides, got to pick which meat option you want, which veggie option you want. It's a lot of pressure.
The key is to do your research before you line up. You got to be so neurotic that you look up the menu and you go, okay, I know what I'm ordering.
There are times where you're like, I always get this meal. Maybe I should do this other stuff.
No, you don't switch it up in line, do you?
No, that's too much pressure. You can't be that adventurous.
Yeah.
That's how mistakes happen.
You go to a restaurant and then you end up ordering something and then it comes and you're like, oh man, this doesn't even look that good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the time. Do you ever line up and you know your order and then you see like an advertisement? It's like, oh, they have the truffle fries now. And it's like, oh, do I do this?
No, just stick to your guns.
What are truffle fries?
Stick to your guns.
But there's a discount on Wednesdays.
No.
Yeah.
You don't call an audible in the line, Mike. That's how you get eyes in the back of your head. It's just burning a hole. Greetings and fist bumps. This is the Raised Eyebrow Podcast, a show where we discuss how this whole humanity thing has gotten a little out of hand. In this episode, we're discussing unusual places to travel to around the world. Because we've been to the theme parks and the beach vacations, we've seen the museums and got the postcard views. We've done all that. Let's switch it up and change up where we travel to. Okay, gents, let's hit the road. All right, so we've all done our own respective travel. And I guess this episode is kind of a companion episode to our travel hacks episode. So listen to this in terms of where you want to go, and then listen to the travel hacks episode so that you can kind of plan for when you're there. And that's how Raised Eyebrow helps out your life.
Shameless plug.
Yep.
Yes.
Totally shameless plug. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode when you're traveling.
It's good audio while you're traveling.
Yep. Really makes train
travel.
stations pass by. All that waiting time.
Also observe outside while you're in the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, obvious things. Why this episode? I guess we want to give our take on like the non-conventional travel, or maybe it's conventional, but people don't necessarily talk about it. You know, it's not on people's top 10 lists.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, these will not rank on any top 10, top 20, top 30 lists. I think the ones I have are all... I'd be surprised if anybody knows of them. 3 of them you can actually travel to. 1 of them, it is illegal to travel to. We do not recommend that.
I think I have one of those where you can't actually even travel to. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are adventurous. Mine are like, once you go to that country, it's like down on the list of things you should see in that country. Like if you're researching that country, you would hear about these places, but it's not like, you know, Venice, or Paris or London.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. So I mean, like we said, these places are not your basic places that you could find. So this one in particular, the reason why I picked it is it's a bit odd, and it's not like well known. But if you're into cats, you would like it.
Interesting.
That's the reason why I picked it. So this place is called the Cat Island, and it's in Japan. It's officially known as Tashirojima Island, and it's a really picturesque place that I think if you're into cats, you would really like. The name Cat Island actually comes from the idea back in the days there was I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the Silk era.
Silk Road.
And apparently in making silk, the worms that make silk, mice really likes it. So the people that lived on that island started bringing in cats to kind of like, you know, keep down the population of mice. And then by the time you know, it's like so many cats that there are more cats than people on the island. So yeah, hence reason why there's like lots of cats. But then one cool factor about this is once you get there are lots of things you can see, like cat shrines.
Damn.
Wow.
It's like a weird like
And apparently Japanese find cats. Well, I'm not sure if it's ever Japanese, but people from this town refers to cats as what do you call it? Like they cherish them in a way. So hence the cat shrine. Yeah, they're sacred.
Interesting. It's like a little cat cult island.
Yeah.
Are there cat ladies there?
I'm sure it's filled with cat papas and kitties.
Cat aunties everywhere. That's cool. Is it like a popular tourist destination?
I don't think it's a popular tourist place, but yeah,
It's popular among single middle-aged women.
cat lady joke. I feel like I've heard of this on like, unusual places to travel lists in Japan. Like one of them.
It probably might be on one of those places.
Yeah. But this is the idea of this episode. It's like, it's not the first thing you think about when you think of Japan, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
when you're there,
Right.
after like a month, like, hey, let me check out a cat island. So, all right, good start.
Yeah.
Alex, you want to go next?
So I'll keep it on the island theme. This one is called Deception Island. Have you ever heard of it?
No. Deception Island.
It's located in Antarctica. It's in the shape of a C. So around the outside of the island, the water is freezing. So if you were to swim in it, you would die. But in the middle of the sea, it's warm. It's like tropical seawater, or almost like bath water. The reason why it's warm in the middle but not on the outside is because it's actually the top of a volcano. Volcanoes always have like the rim around the top. So that's actually the top of a volcano just kind of peeking above the ocean surface. And cruise ships usually stop through there. The entrance to the actual bay has probably the best name I've ever seen. It's called Neptune's Bellows. And there's a few scientists who populate the islands, just kind of watching the volcano. There also is a large penguin population because it's nice and warm. So they study the penguins. They kind of study what's going on with Antarctica. And it's really cool. They just sit around and just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet, the warm water, and quite possibly their impending doom. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's an eerie kind of travel destination.
Yeah. And the beaches are black because it's just ash.
Is it hard to get there?
No. Apparently there's like 15,000 visitors a year that pass through there.
Really?
Yeah, which is a lot for that part because it's Antarctica, right? Like it's hard to get down there. You can't just go travel there. You have to apply to travel there, and it's expensive. Right. So 15,000 people passing through the island is quite a lot.
So it's easy to get to by Antarctica standards.
Yes, yeah, because it's such an anomaly in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, aren't there like cruises in Antarctica?
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those, but it's like, it's not an easy trip.
It's expensive. Yeah, you have to start from Argentina or Chile. Mm-hmm. They're the easiest, and then you have to go down. And to get to the actual continent is quite the trip. There's a few islands that are kind of on the way, so sometimes you would just stop at the islands. And Deception Island is kind of on this like string of islands that kind of come out from the continent.
Why is it
Do you know where the name comes from?
I was just going to ask.
Deception.
Why is it called Deception?
Well, because it's deceptive. You're in Antarctica, and you're expecting it to be freezing water, and it's covered in snow-capped mountains or snow-capped hills, but it's deception because it's actually a volcano and it's warm in the middle.
I wonder how it was discovered.
Probably aliens.
There's obligatory alien shout out. Every episode there's one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other comments on that one?
No.
All right. I'll switch things up a bit and go road trip on my first travel destination. Have you guys heard of the Romantic Road?
No.
So it's in Germany. And most people, when they think of Germany, it's obviously Berlin, Munich, all the popular spots. But the Romantic Road, it's fairly well known in European circles and like hipster travel, but most people don't know about it. So it was actually a like a themed road trip, and it was devised as a promo by travel agents in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And this is after the war, so they wanted to build up the economy, and they promoted what we know as 460 kilometers of roads between medieval towns. It starts in Würzburg and finishes in Füssen in southern Germany. So it's specifically the regions of Bavaria and Württemberg. And it links a bunch of like medieval castles and like picturesque towns. Today, the region is thought by many like hipster international travels to possess, what we think of as like quintessentially German scenery and culture, but sprinkled with like, medieval themes. It's got like some beer fest stuff in Oktoberfest, excuse me. My wife and I considered doing this back when we got married, but then we're like, you know what? Italy. That's the way to go. Venice is more romantic. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because most people have not heard about this place. But yeah, romantic road. If you're looking for a fun road trip with the partner.
I mean, if you do something like this, is there other activities? Because I mean, if you go to Italy, there's more to do. But on this road trip, like, is there anything else?
No, you have to stay on the road. You cannot get off.
You've got to stay on the route. Apparently, like each town has its own charm. So, like, different restaurants in this town and different festivals. But from different reviews I read, I don't want to piss off our German listeners. We have so many German listeners. It gets potentially old after like the fourth town. It's like over a dozen towns. So there's a few like hot spots. So you got to visit Rothenburg. That's like the crown jewel of the road trip, so to speak. But after a while, there's other things you got to see. So
I wonder if in the last town there's just an abundance of divorce lawyers.
This wasn't romantic at all.
I went off the trip.
You start and then you're all in your honeymoon phase, and then you get to the end of the road and it's, I hate you.
All these towns are the same.
There's like billboard ads, like just the divorce lawyer.
Foods
ain't working out. Call Olaf and Partners.
It's all in the last town.
I think who said something? They said if you want to know somebody, go on a trip with them.
Yeah. If you want to, I think Bill Murray, he said, if you want to get married, travel for a year and like solve problems. And if you finish your trip and you are not broken up, marry that person. Because travel is the ultimate teacher. Not resorts.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything on resorts. I mean, you might. You could lie there and hate your partner. but
What if? Oh yeah. I think it's an actual incident. They went on a resort, and then they both exchanged. It's not like it happened intentionally, but then when they came back, they had changed couples.
Oh damn, that's weird.
And they're married to this day.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's a more unusual story.
So the partners swapped?
In a way.
I guess they were more compatible the other way. Still learn something, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But in general, if you're with your significant other, go on a trip, figure out if you can handle each other, and solve problems. And if you can, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next one on the list is Hashima Island. Hashima Island, I mean, so you may or may not have heard about it. It was featured in one of James Bond's movie. So this used to be once a hot and bustling coal mining facility in Japan. It's funny. I don't know why I have two Japanese locations. It wasn't intentional. Anyway, so Hashima Island used to be a coal mining facility. and it kind of went downwards in the 70s, and since then it's considered a ghost town. But back in its heydays, it used to be an island dense with like infrastructure. Like they had hospitals, homes, name it, everything. They had it. So normally the miners would live on the island, and they bring their kids with them and wives. Hence the fact that it was like a really dense city. In the beginning, we did mention the places that you could go to. This is one of the places that you can't really go to at the moment, but they're in the process of like making sure like the buildings are in good condition so people can visit them. But currently, like, you'd see photographers using it as like a way to show it's pretty much like a reminder of industrialization and urban decay. So it's a really cool, like, small island, but like dense with like homes, churches, hospitals, everything. Kids used to even play soccer on rooftops and things like that. But when I was researching this one, I was like, I think I've seen a movie similar to this, and it happens to be The Battleship. It's a Korean movie, 2017, and it's on a different twist. It's basically Koreans. Back in the days, it was what's it called? Japanese occupation, and they had Koreans as I don't know if they're slaves in a way, but on this island, the Koreans were working for the Japanese. And yeah, so in the movie, they were trying to like escape prison break in the movie. It's a really cool movie. You should check it out. The Battleship Island.
Yeah,
anyway,
Japan used to have Korea as like a colony, or they owned it at one point. Like, they not owned it, but they conquered it. At one point. That's why there's such a rivalry between South Korea and Japan and sports and stuff.
Right.
Japan did some damage in that part of the world.
Yeah. And the movie was Skyfall. Came out in 2012.
Oh, the
James Bond movie.
James Bond one? Right. Yeah.
I feel like this this place would be in like a dark tourism show or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen videos on that on YouTube. Yeah, it's an interesting island. It's really tiny, but it's kind of cool.
And you can't go there, you said, right?
Right.
Off
I mean,
limits.
I don't know about maybe in the next few years, but it probably wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a safe place for people to visit, though.
No, probably not.
There's no resorts there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no concierge to, take your bags. So this next one is in Mali, Timbuktu in Mali. Not necessarily the city itself, although the city is interesting. I learned about it recently. It's actually quite an interesting city. But there's a specific structure in there that is even more interesting, in my opinion. So a little bit of a backstory. So Timbuktu, which is currently in present-day Mali, which is along the Niger River. Niger means river of rivers. So the Niger River means river of rivers, river. Translate.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah. So it rose to prominence during the Ghana Empire and then eventually the Mali Empire, starting in the centuries around 1100 AD. The city was founded at the top of the Niger River, and then just north of that you have the Sahara Desert, and then you have the Mediterranean coast. So that's where the Arabic Empire was, and they would be trading with the Arabic Empire. So all the stuff coming up from Africa, then they would cross the Sahara because they would use camels to cross the Sahara. And they would trade with the Arabic Empire, who was trading with the Europeans. So there's like a huge trading hub that was going on at the time. And that's why Timbuktu was founded. And eventually it ended up converting into Islam as a religion. And they kind of adopted Islam as a part of their culture in their own unique way. And in the 1300s, probably the wealthiest person to have ever lived based on their time, Mansa Musa, he came back from a pilgrimage in the Holy Lands. He was Arabic himself, or not Arabic himself, sorry, he was Islamic himself, or Muslim. And when he came back, he brought a lot of wealth with him, as well as scholars and architects. The scholars would end up setting up the largest library in Africa since the Library of Alexandria, which would burn down like way, way, way before. But they would set up this largest library, which most of it is still intact, actually. The books, that is. Meanwhile, the architects would build the Sankore Mosque and several other mosques. And the way they built it is really unique. So the actual structure itself would be built out of limestone and like these kind of bricks made of earth. But then they would use covered layers of like wet soil on the outside of the building to kind of protect the limestone from wearing away from the weather. And during the rainy season, a lot of that would kind of wash off. And then in the dry season, they would reapply it. And they've been doing this for 700 years every year. So the community comes out every year and reapplies this exterior coating on these mosques for 700 years. And it's just kind of this unique way that the community kind of like keeps these buildings alive. And that's kind of always fascinated me. And this one was just the most recent one that I learned about. Just kind of how it's like a living, breathing element of their community.
Yeah, surviving the test of time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to find this guy's name. Francis Kere. The architectural style that you were talking about, there are lots of benefits that nowadays Africans don't really pay attention to. I mean,
Like
Africa is very... Say it again?
Like most people.
Yeah. Africa is very hot. So then the way they build is specifically for that culture.
Right.
But then since colonization, lots of us would prefer other materials than our local materials. So one aspect of, like, these mosques have been around for centuries. And if you look at them, they're like these sticks that comes out. So it's like a skeleton or scaffolding structures. So you climb the building to the top to apply these materials on it. And Francis Kere is one of those modern architects that still borrows these techniques for building. And you don't need AC. It's like it's cooler inside, but then once you're outside, it's hot.
Oh, really? They're like cool on the inside, eh? Wow.
Oh yeah, super cool. Like even in Ghana, we use these pots, and they're made from these materials. And if you drink from the water, it feels like it's from the refrigerator. Like the water is like chill.
Yeah, refreshing.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're looking at the structure now on screen. Pretty interesting.
In the picture we're looking at, you see mainly men, but you'd also find women. Like it's pretty much like the people who plaster the walls. Usually they would use decorational mud paint, and it's mainly women. And it's the whole community comes together to build.
Yeah.
I help you build your house. You help me build my house. It's amazing.
How big is this, I guess, structure?
Some of them are tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few of them. There's some of them have like, there's a mosque in one part, and then the other part's like a university or public schools for kids. They can, like half of it's schools. Because when Mansa Musa came back, he came back with all these scholars and books, right? And Timbuktu was like a wealth of knowledge for a long period of time because of that. So a lot of these buildings were mostly schools, and then they just kind of had like a mosque in one part of it. I think today it's just mostly a mosque, but
like we might be going off topic, but a lot of these people, like what currently is Islamic culture, or like even how they dress and music and all that, it's all from that era. So even though they weren't Muslims at that time, they did some of these practices. So and so that even within the Islamic culture, there's so many different types of, you know,
like someone from Indonesia would have nothing in common from someone from Mali.
Yeah.
It's like a different human essentially.
Yeah.
But they,
Yeah.
you know, they'll
So
believe-
even the way they cover, I'm not saying this is why they do it, but part of the reason why they wear, like even men would have scarves around their face is because of the dust and the desert dust storms and things like that. So
yeah, different
makes sense.
customs.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, based on that, I'll segue into my next one. Architecture. It's a good theme for this one. So we'll transition there. Have you guys heard of the Meeting of Cultures line in Sarajevo in Bosnia?
No.
So I was there 2018, right before COVID. So it's an interesting part right in the center of the old city in Sarajevo, where you go to the center of town and there's a line and it says, this is the Meeting of Cultures. When you turn your body to one side of the street, all the buildings are Austro-Hungarian style. So like the influences from the Habsburg Empire, which like dominated Europe for a couple of centuries. And then when you turn your body the other way, all the buildings are from the Ottoman Empire. So it's trippy as hell. You're just turning your body and you're seeing meeting of these worlds. And when you go down the street, you get like different aspects of each culture. And like historically, those two were sort of, you know, butting heads. And then, you know, of course, in the 1990s, there was the Balkan Wars. So different things happen in that part of the world, which we won't get into now, but they did a good job preserving the history of both these two cultures, you know, clashing and eventually merging with each other. Bosnia is pretty diverse demographically. They've had some issues, you know, politically speaking, but it's primarily Muslim. But this is an interesting part of the world. It's peaceful now. They've gone through their challenges, but when I was there, you know, very peaceful place, serene. And this is an interesting thing to experience, at least visually, at the very least visually. And then when you dive into the culture and the history, it's really cool. And not a lot of people talk about it or know about it.
Yeah, that is interesting. There's a really good book called The Cellist of Sarajevo. It's fiction, but it's it's really good novel that kind of dramatizes the struggle that a lot of the people go through and how Sarajevo was kind of at the middle of the conflict in a way, or one of the major hotspots, and how the city's kind of just getting like ripped apart through the conflict, and even just how them going to get fresh water every day was like a life or death thing.
Yeah,
because you could just get picked off by
outside.
Snipers.
Yep.
What?
Yeah,
because they were at the bottom of a mountain range. I forget the name. Someone Google that if you can. But yeah, so enemy forces would be at the top of the mountain, snipers, and yeah, danger. But yeah, it's an interesting little town in the Balkans. Worth the visit. There's a few cool towns in Bosnia. Mostar is a good one.
Bosnia is Ukraine, right?
No, it's
its own country. Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Herzegovina. And it has a Serbian breakaway state inside of it called the Republic of Srpska. It gets complicated with all that stuff. But there's some good documentaries.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, look up documentaries of former Yugoslavia and like what happened in that part of the world. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I was so Croatia was part of that former Yugoslavia. I was there as part of my like this bigger trip that I did, and I went to Montenegro as well. I actually proposed to my wife in Croatia.
Oh, nice.
in Dubrovnik, which is on top of the list of popular places. That's where, and it was made popular because of Game of Thrones. All the nerds were, they shot all the major the scenes in that part of Croatia. So, and when you go there, it gets like, it's become a little cheesy because they have like Game of Thrones tours, you know. But like work around that, and it's still pretty cool. Beauty is beauty, right? Just ignore the commercialized aspects of things. But yeah, if you're looking for a trip that's not the most popular, go to the Balkans. Bosnia's in there as far as like interesting clash of cultures and coexistence through, you know, a lot of challenges, and you know, they're working on it still, but they've come a long way, that's for sure.
All right, the next one on the list is Spotted Lake, and this is in Canada, British Columbia. So, I don't know. I've never heard of it, but I'm sure you guys probably don't know about it either.
No idea. Spotted Lake?
So, say it again.
It's called Spotted Lake?
Spotted Lake, British Columbia, Canada.
Okay.
So this is a very fascinating place because it's not really big, but what happens is, so the lake is filled with a lot of salty, alkaline whatever. I'm not a scientist, so I can't explain. I mean, it has sodium sulfite, calcium, magnesium, and things like that.
Science things.
Yeah, science crazy things. But then there are times where the lake dries up, and then it forms little spots in the lake, which has different minerals. So different minerals get separated into the little pockets, which is really cool to see. So yeah, it's something that is like,
it looks funky.
Must see.
Yeah. It's by Osoyoos in BC, so it's near the U.S.-Canadian border in the Okanagan Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a not to change topics? Isn't there like a desert in BC?
Yeah, so Kelowna is technically a desert, and deserts are classified by how much rainfall they get per year. So here's a question for you. What is the largest desert in the world?
Is it
Sahara?
Is it the Okanagan Desert?
No.
Or
I'll give you a hint. It's been mentioned in this podcast so far.
It's been mentioned in this Antarctica?
Yep, Antarctica.
Hey.
Oh, is it a desert?
It's classified as a desert.
Because
deserts are classified by amount of rainfall. Antarctica doesn't get much rainfall because there's no clouds that really go down there.
That's like a plot hole in the desert definition.
Plot twist.
I thought it was just dry, sandy places that go on from kilometers. Miles for our American listeners.
I mean, you can snowboard on a desert. I've seen it.
It's true.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool.
It looks pretty sweet. Yeah.
Sandboarding.
Yeah. No, it's called snowboarding on sand, Mike.
Okay.
Just sandboarding.
Stand corrected.
I'm gonna
fact checking.
I gotta stick in Canada, kind of. This is called Sable Island. Have you ever heard of this one?
Heard of it. Don't know much about it.
All right, so it's a thin island that is 175 kilometers or 109 miles off the coast of Canada, and it's technically a part of the municipality of Halifax, even though it's so far off coast. So originally it was unpopulated, except for a few migrating birds who just passed by. But some sailors thought it'd be a great idea to raise horses because there's no need for a fence and there's no predators, and it's just basically grass. So it's everything a horse needs, nothing it doesn't. So they put a bunch of horses there to breed, and the horses bred, but the humans couldn't stay there because it was too cold, windy, and the winters were horrific. So the humans left and the horses stayed. And the horses are doing perfectly fine. They're thriving now. There's like over 300 of them just roaming around the island. They just run the show. And all it is just like a weather station there in terms of, just kind of monitoring what the Atlantic Ocean is doing. But it's just mostly just horses just roaming free, doing their own thing, having fun. Yeah. Sable Island. You can technically go there, but it's just horses. and they're wild. Like, they're not going to go near you. They'll attack.
Wow.
They're hurt.
They're not as friendly as my cats from Cat Island, Japan.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely not like Cat Island. Yeah,
Can't pet any ponies there.
yeah.
Yeah. Wild ponies are not your pet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sable Island. It's just this little tiny thing. So it's cool.
It'd be cool to see just horses just running like in the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. What province was it in?
Halifax, so Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's technically a part of the municipality of Halifax. They oversee it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why the province doesn't just deal with it, but whatever.
And it's an island?
Yeah, it's an island, and it's really far off the coast. Like, it's not like it's close.
Oh.
It's way off.
Okay. Weird. I guess no one lives there, so they don't really...
It's a weather...
care.
There's a weather station there, so I think there is somebody who does live there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just kind of take current turns and, do stints for maybe a couple weeks at a time.
Gotcha.
Bring
There's
a
no
stack
He
of
probably speaks horse.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Tarzan.
Yeah.
Tarzan learned how to speak.
It's the horse whisperer. Sable Island. All right. That's interesting one. But you wouldn't really travel there necessarily, right?
Not really, no. We're kind of using the term travel very loosely for the last couple ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's cool. It's interesting.
I mean, you could travel to Bosnia. You can do that. That's recommended. Sable Island, I wouldn't recommend that.
So the next one is called Chocolate Hill.
Ooh, I'm listening.
Of Bohol Island in the Philippines.
Okay.
Wait, did you
so
say
this is a
butthole?
Bohol. Bohol.
Oh, Bohol. Okay.
Bohol Island in the Philippines.
Bohol is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really fascinating. Like in the picture, it looks like a bunch of like hills, but they're perfectly shaped, and it looks very man-made in a way. Like it looks, I don't know how it would look if you're not flying. So perhaps maybe visiting might not be a cool way to see it, unless maybe you stand on one of the hills and then you look in the distance. But if you look at the overall view, it looks like a bunch of smooth hills.
It's like chocolate
blocked.
drops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
the reason why they call it chocolate hill is because during the dry season, the grass that grows on the hill dries out and it turns brown. So it has that chocolate look.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks pretty cool. This is not like, I'm not a scientist, so I can't really, but there's a lot of like, scientists. I mean, some people debunk this idea, but it happens to be billions of years ago. There are these coral reefs that piled up, and then eventually erosion took over and exposed parts of the mountains. So they're basically saying now it looks smooth, but for another billion years it would look ruggedy, like you would see in like
Like a mountain.
other parts of the world.
Yeah. So this is obviously it's not man-made, right? This is just formed
Yeah, it's
over.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Google this one for our listeners. Okay, let me transition based on that. The theme of nature formations. Have you guys heard of Meteora in Greece?
No.
It's a good
this is
album
another
by
one of-
Linkin Park.
Yeah, true that. Shout out to the older millennials, or any millennials, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so Meteoras, you'll find this on the list of like the 10th thing you want to do in Greece, but it's basically like, so it's located in northern Greece in Thessaly, and it's famous for its unique rock formations. And a few hundred years ago, a few monks decided to build monasteries at the top of the rock formations. Yeah, it's super trippy when you look at it. So Meteora translates to suspended in air in Greek. It's a valley formed about 60 million years ago with the weathering away of the rocks to form the columns and spires of rock. And over 500 years ago, monks built Eastern Orthodox monasteries at the top of these rocks, and it was constructed through the 14th and 15th centuries, situated at the very peak, the precipice of over 400 meters, and forms part of 24 monasteries which were originally built at Meteora. 6 of these monasteries are still active and open to visitors today for the tourists. I've been there. It's interesting. Great view of the town below. I'm not a religious man, but it's cool to see like the cultural aspect of it. And the most photographed monuments of Meteora is the Holy Trinity Monastery. It ranks among the most difficult ones to reach in terms of its access. Visitors have to cross like this downhill path and walk 145 steps carved into the actual rock. It's said that at the time that it was built, this is the part that I remember from my little tour that I did, the monks actually used a rope ladder and a net, and they spent 70 years to carry the materials up the mountain to build the monastery. When you're there, you're like, how the heck did they use a rope to drag rocks to build this thing 500 years ago or whatever it was?
Angels and aliens.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was going to say.
Aliens.
Yep. The flying saucer, just bring it up. Yep. If History Channel's taught me anything.
Ancient aliens.
It's History Channel, it's true. You don't even have to fact check them. Proof is in the name.
Yeah.
It's all there. Yeah, so earth formations.
Yeah, that's cool.
We got architecture, earth formations, animal islands. What else? What else you guys got?
The last one is North Sentinel Island.
Okay.
Have you heard of this one?
No.
I have a lot of islands on mine.
Islands are cool.
Yeah, they are, actually. Ones that didn't make the cut are the Edinburgh of the Seven Seas was kind of just like this little tiny island in the middle of the South Atlantic. Ascension Island's kind of interesting. Helena, St. Helena, that's where Napoleon was exiled to. That's like in the middle of the Atlantic.
Napoleon was exiled? I didn't know that.
Yeah, twice.
Oh.
I'm going to watch the movie now.
St. Helena is when he died on, but yeah. Because this way he couldn't just like make a ship and just sail across the Mediterranean back into France. It was a little more difficult for him to leave St. Helena because it was near the equator. So
yeah, he wasn't even French to begin with.
Not really, no.
Wait,
no, he was born in France. Yeah, he was born in.
He's Italian. Napoleon Bonaparte. So he didn't fit in, but he wanted to prove that he can fit in.
He was born in France. He was born in Ajaccio, France, which is in the southern coast.
Well, a lot of Italian names, I'm trying to figure out the history here. There's a lot of like intermixing of the cultures.
Yeah. Because of the Roman Empire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of French names sound Italian or are Italian, but their people are French and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Hey, it's post-production Alex here. Just going to clean some things up. So Napoleon's family was of Italian origin. His paternal ancestors, the Bonapartes, descended from a minor Tuscan noble family that immigrated to Corsica in the 16th century. His maternal ancestors, the Ramolinos, descended from a minor Genoese noble family. So definitely has Italian in his background. Not sure what you would make of that in terms of how he conquered everything. It seems the Italians have a knack for conquering most of Europe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to the show. With North Sentinel Island, it's an island off the coast of India. You cannot go to this. You will probably be killed by one of two groups of people.
Oh, this one.
One will be by the Sentinelese, which is a tribe that has not really had much contact with the outside world. There have been expeditions that have tried to make contact with them, like the British, when they had India, they tried to make contact a couple times, but they would either get attacked, kicked off the islands. They couldn't understand the Sentinelese language, so it was really hard to speak with them. And then there was a few attempts when India got its independence in the 60s. but they've since stopped trying to make contact with them because, I mean, it's a tiny island for one, so it has like no value or strategic purpose, but it's also, it's out of respect to them. And even if we were to make contact with them, it's kind of a repeat of what happened in North America when the Europeans came over. There would probably be a disease that would spread rampantly through their population, most likely COVID, and they don't have an immunity to it or immunity to the vast majority of the things that we have certain levels of immunity to. So they would probably, their population may be decimated. So you wouldn't really be doing them any favors.
It's not worth it.
No. There have been people in the modern time who've been tried to get contact, but they would always get like chased off the island. There have been people who got killed or attacked, shot at, or with arrows. Helicopter.
Wasn't there a recent
nearby.
story?
Yeah.
Of some like Christian missionary. I
Yeah.
think he was a Mormon dude.
He got
He's
attacked
like,
at. Yeah.
And he died, right?
Just leave him alone.
They launched an arrow at him immediately.
Yeah. There'd be like helicopters that would come in, and the Indian Navy, they patrol the area, so they're kind of aware of who's going in and who's going out. They're not like near it, but they kind of stay away from it. But because like the people on the island have no idea what any of this is. Like it's so foreign to them, right? It's like as if aliens are coming to attack, basically, from the same concept. They have no idea what a helicopter is.
Right.
So it's fear for them. So, and then during COVID, they would kind of do like flybys to make sure they're still alive. And they would get like spears thrown at the drones and stuff. They're like, okay, you're fine. Just fly away.
They're good.
But yeah, it's interesting how there's a tribe that has very, very, very minimal contact with the outside world.
I'm happy for them because you don't want our culture, man. It's not worth it.
No.
I'm sure, like, you know, in a lifestyle like that, your beliefs are different. Your food, you eat organic food.
Yeah.
You have a relaxed lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got their own problems.
Probably.
Yeah.
Tribal
But
life.
probably it's like, hey, you took my mango.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like the exact same problems we do. We just can't escape it. You know,
He took my girl.
they have a they have a fractured political system, you know, where the left is losing its mind and the right is subverting to populism, and
Can't trust the chief anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have a 88-year-old as their leader.
He's taking bribes from.
He has like nine wives. And then the young boys can't find any wives.
The last election was illegitimate, so they stormed their capital.
Reading about the evangelical.
That is a story. That could be a story. You take like, you know, this group of people, and then you replace it with modern stories from present world.
Actually, it'd be interesting. Is if I ever get a time machine, one thing I would like to do is I would like to go back in time and pitch ideas that have happened to us over the last 4 years. So be like, okay, here's an idea. So there's a worldwide pandemic, right? And you know, or like, you know, they have the Capitol riots on January 6th. Like, no, that would never happen. It's
Right.
not believable.
Not possible.
You're telling me that a guy wearing a goat head, no shirt on, an American flag, is going to storm the Capitol and get away with it?
Like pitch TikTok to someone 15 years ago. It's just random videos.
But a guy in some reality TV show is going to become president? Nah.
It happened.
Yeah.
The average age of Congress is going to be like 70.
So there's an Instagram channel called History Photographed. This triggered this thought for me. So there's a clip it's 1963 footage of a real life battle between it's like essentially like two tribes in Papua New Guinea, in West Papua, Indonesia. Like two clans, and it's like it looks like something out of like the Sentinel Island.
Yeah.
But the comments are pretty funny. So some of the comments. I'll just read them out here. First one is life before Greece. It's just these natives screaming at each other. This one's funny. These natives were really peaceful before colonialism. This one says probably a straight white man's fault somehow. Someone says, can BLM explain this? Proof the world needed colonization. Can someone tell me how the hell did they record this? Yeah, it just keeps going. Read the internet comment section, people.
I like sometimes just going through comments because the comments even have more funny stories than even the actual content.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's cringy as hell.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hilarious.
Or some people who haven't even watched the content and they're talking about something totally off.
Yeah, it's just trolls.
Yeah.
Like, don't let this distract you from the fact that I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I saved money on my insurance with Geico.
Yeah. I guess on that note, we should, I wouldn't really have any final thoughts. Final thoughts, just listen to our Travel Hacks episode as a companion to this. And do you ever remember, kids?
Just travel. It'll teach you things.
Yeah. I have.
It's the best teacher.
In the words of South Park, remember, kids, don't forget to bring a towel.
Wise. South Park nails it again.